everyone, welcome to CXO Spice. CXO Spice is a platform for thought leaders to share their point of view on innovation and explain how to make it happen in real world. Today's topic is AI and workforce. Our special guest is Phil Wilburn, VP of People Analytics at Workday. Hello, Phil. Welcome to CXO Spice.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, Helen. What an honor it is for me to join you on your platform in your podcast here.
Well, delighted to have you here, Phil. Tell us a little bit more about your time before Workday.
Before Workday. Okay. So like you said, I lead people analytics at Workday, not to be confused with, the technology side. I'm actually an HR practitioner. Before Workday, I don't think anybody's career makes sense, at the time you're going through it, but, moving forward in the future, somehow you look back and it makes sense. I actually have had two separate careers. One in I would consider like leadership consulting, leadership development consulting. I spent a number of years at the Center for Creative Leadership doing leadership strategy, leadership development, got to travel all over the world with amazing customers doing that work. And prior to that, I actually spent my first career is actually in the US intelligence community. So I was an analyst and I taught courses on advanced analytics to various agencies like the Defense Intelligence Agency, National Counterterrorism Center, Open Source Center, and FBI. Even did some work for NASA. So I've had two very separate careers. How it brought me to Workday, I don't know. But the skills I learned along the way is certainly helping me here lead this people analytics function.
Wow, that's fascinating, Phil. That deserves another episode of CXO Spice, right? But we'll set that aside for today. So as a global leader of people analytics, you've had a unique vantage point from which to witness the field evolution. Could you describe how the field has evolved over the years and then what you believe are the most significant changes?
So believe it or not, people analytics is not necessarily new per se. It's been around, I would say 15 plus years, even before I was in it. But the field has had a lot of attention and growth over the last 5 years, which to me has a lot to do with the massively rapidly changing environment that we've found ourselves in. I'd break down the evolution into four broad phases. The first phase, I would say the early phase was all about reporting. This was phases all highlighted around getting the basic HR reporting data to your HR leadership team and leaders across the business to inform some good decision making, but just making sure everything is running properly. The second phase is really around research. This is where IO psychologists actually entered the field. And if you're a large company, you could conduct new research on things like employee motivation. I think you remember Google's Project Oxygen, where they research what makes great management. By the way, that's been studied a ton in the management sciences, but actually applying it to an organization was novel, and especially the breadth of the research. So that was phase two. Phase three was all about creating scale. This is characterized by trying to find scale through technology and people analytics. And so as people analytics grew, a lot of teams grew a lot by headcount, by budget, and sometimes the people analytics teams were bogged down by lots of manual reporting and or manual research. And this was all about trying to find the right type of team, the right product-oriented strategy, the right technology to help scale your organization. I would say many teams, Helen, are still stuck in the kind of phase two, phase three. They haven't fully matured. And I think this last phase, the phase that we're in now, is around value, people analytics providing value. So how can people analytics drive business value by influencing strategy, people strategy, business strategy, and course correcting work already in progress? And to me, like based on your perspective of agility and insights, this is the best phase where you're really providing those insights to create that organization agility. And that's kind of where I would say the leading people analytics functions are right now, really focused on value.
I love that, Phil. So here are the four phases, right? Reporting, research, creating scale, and value, right? It's really exciting to see the value. Finally, we meet at an intersection of value, regardless of what function you work. So could you share some example of how your team has leveraged workforce analytics to drive that value and actionable insights and support organizations' agility?
Yeah, I think we have maybe, I'll just give you two good examples or relevant examples. One is around employee listening and one is around workforce planning. So let's start with employee listening. I think this one is all about having the right technology in play to support agility. Let me set a little bit of context here. For many of your listeners who may not know, we have actually at Workday been pulsing all of our employees every week for the last 4.5 years. In this last year, we've been using Peakon Workday employee voice technology, right? It's part of an acquisition that we did. We don't launch surveys here as events or fanfare or constant communication. Get ready for your annual engagement pulse. We simply have one routine survey schedule that arrives in everybody's inbox or Slack at 9 a.m. Friday mornings. We call that Feedback Fridays. And on average, we see around 70% participation each week, which gives us confidence that the daily data is highly accurate and provides real-time picture of employee sentiment. So what do we do with this? What happened? So let me take you back in time here. So during the fall and winter of 2021, our Peakon engagement data revealed that various teams were battling work overload due to pandemic-induced priority shifts and meeting-heavy schedules, and they weren't feeling a real sense of accomplishment. And so we as a HR team had a decision make. We consider implementing an enterprise-wide solution, with ramping up a Tiger team and putting some content out there and doing some required training, etc. But after digging into many of the comments in Peakon, we realized that most of the challenges would be addressed more effectively at the team level. And what we saw in that data is managers starting to have real conversations with their teams around targeted and tailored solutions, moving work here, increasing up a sense of priority, rebalancing the team workload in some cases. These bottom-up solutions that were already happening without HR prompting them resulted in some significant positive movement. Over a number of weeks, maybe 6 weeks, the number of employees struggling with workload reduced by 50%. And we saw a significant increase in the sense of accomplishment.
Wow.
So, yeah.
50%.
Yeah.
That's amazing, right? Now I can't wait to hear about the workforce planning example.
Yeah. So we saw that with employee listening. Yeah, exactly. Let's dig into the workforce planning example. So let's go back to the crazy journey we've been in dealing with people data over the 3 years, pandemic, great resignation, social justice movement, a lot of things going on. And at the very beginning of the pandemic, everything was quite uncertain. Hiring largely slowed down for more or less many businesses. And the business here at Workday, we needed guidance. Finance needed a predictable way to forecast costs in order to deal with a big changing budget landscape. And for Workday, like many organizations, a large part of our cost is headcount related. And so what happened in this situation? So while budgeting and cost is not necessarily inherent to people analytics domain, right? We wanted to help our colleagues deal with the issue. And so we had to pivot. So we'd actually been running a predictive turnover model for a number of years. And what we needed to do is embed this actually into the finance headcount budgeting system. And so this forecasting model is actually fairly accurate. And so what we did is embed this into Adaptive, where our financial planners were planning in order to forecast their budget for next month. Not only did this kind of embedding of this forecast give strategic insight to finance to help control cost. The model, like I said, it was within 1 to 3% for each quarter. It was extremely helpful in managing costs during the Great Resignation when there were a lot of turnover was happening. So accurate forecasting here helped sustain margins over the last 3 years. in making finance happy, which is good because if finance happy, the rest of the business is happy. And even better, it really helped our TA organization plan for capacity for hiring during the last 3 years. So that's another one. I think this one in particular, Helen, workforce planning helped us break down the silos, which is, I know, a key part of agility, across our functions to drive this positive business outcome for Workday in this kind of economic uncertainty that we face over the last few years.
Wow, that's profound. Thank you for sharing this encouraging example. I wish I had that when I was running a global team way back then. Many companies I work with, they struggle to effectively utilize the data they have access to. And what are some of the practical strategies organizations can use to overcome this common challenge? And what are some of the best practices from HR perspective to prioritize and analyze data effectively?
Helen, for me, I think there's kind of 3 intentional practices, and I think it applies for both unlocking data and how to drive HR strategy. And maybe we call these tips to unlock the value of your people analytics data. The first one is all about strategy. Many of the teams I talk to start with data, but when they should be starting with strategy. And what do I mean by that? What is the team trying to achieve? What are the business objectives? What are the growth initiatives that the organization is doing? And basically, what decisions are they trying to influence? And for us at Workday, we really align our business objectives related to personas. And so who's making the decisions, and align our products related to that. And so we have a persona-based people analytics strategy, which allows us to prioritize effectively what data and insights we need to unlock. So that's the first one. The second one is around meet your customers where they're at. So once your strategy is set, you need to know who your customers are and how to embed analytics in their flow of work. And let me just give you 2 examples related to this. VPs plus are very busy. Certainly we have an amazing dashboard that shows them org health statistics here at Workday that informs what they should be doing around their organization. So we have that, but we also embed a monthly alert summarizing their insights directly to that VP based on org health. Here's what you need to be paying attention to this month. Here's what's changed over time. Here's how it compares to your peers. And here's how it compares to the goal you're trying to achieve. And that simple digest allows our VP Plus to make that data consumable and decide whether or not to click into that dashboard to learn more. Another example is really was during the pandemic, where we were trying to help individual contributors deal with Zoom fatigue, right? And so Zoom fatigue was a big issue. So we had actually did some research, published it on our internal workspace page. Employees who are thinking or struggling around this could look for it, and then they would find a tool that shows the percentage of time you're spending on Zoom compared to your peers, so they can see for themselves how they're doing related to that. So it's really embedding those insights into the flow of work and the relevant topics that are there. And the last one, and this is maybe more about me than it is about everything else, but as an HR practitioner, unlocking your data makes you realize that you need to hold the organization accountable, right? I think a lot of people analytics team don't realize the part of sharing insights is to hold the system accountable to the organizational and people goals they've set. For example, are we making progress in diversity goals? We need to make sure we embed those goals into all of our products and then provide regular status updates on whether or not we're making them, and or why we are making them, or why not we're making them, right? If our job is to deliver sales results, we need to make sure that we're providing insights around hiring our account executives and making sure recruiters, hiring managers, and directors can see the quality of hire metrics over time, right? So how do you unlock this data? It's really those kind of 3 things. It's about strategy. It's about your customers. It's about holding the organization accountable. And when you can do this, I believe the data gets unlocked, and it also drives the business outcomes you're hoping to drive.
Wow. And that's really profound, right? No wonder Workday is more successful than many others in the industry. having that strategy really meaningful and relevant and timely, right? Could you discuss specific strategies and approaches that your team at Workday has used to unlock the value in when implementing new tools or technologies?
Yeah, I think I think in topics of three, but there are three things that I think people should do to increase adoption when releasing new insights or releasing new products. First is make it relevant. Second, make it simple. And third is connect it to action, right? So making it relevant is all about understanding your audience in the organizational context, right? So back to our persona-based analytics strategy, who are you delivering? And by the way, what is the organizational context? What is your business objectives? Is it, focusing on diversity? Is it returning to the office and hybrid work practices? If you can really make it relevant by making it personable to that audience and focus on the topic, I think you get adoption. The second one is all about making it simple. I think we overcomplicate analytics by producing 20 different views and dashboards and so forth to do. And one of the things that we've worked here at Workday to do is really consolidate down on people's experiences. So for example, the manager experience, we did some massive consolidation around what a manager needs to know to run their team. And we consolidated insights around hiring, compensation, time off, absent, talent reviews, etc. So there's one place where a manager goes to run their team. And when we consolidated this and made it very simple for the manager, we saw a 77% increase in unique usage of our products across our persona from this. So making it simple is the second strategy.
I love it. Making it relevant, making it simple. At the end of the day, is a value exchange, regardless your internal or external customers.
Exactly.
That being said, Phil, it's easier to be said than done, right? How does your team measure the effectiveness and impact of the tools and tie that outcome to organization performance? Have there been any significant changes in your measurement approach over time? And if so, why?
Yeah, I think, this is as an analytics person, we can get hyper excited about measurement as an understatement because we feel like you should measure everything. But if we just go back to the beginning of the phases of people analytics growth and people analytics teams over the years, this is all about providing value back to the organization, right? So I want to ensure we are trying to measure the outcome, not the activity, right? And so let me just give you examples of some outcomes. Like, are we getting more inclusive as an organization? That's an outcome you want to measure. Are we hiring top talent and ramping them up quickly enough to be successful in their first year? That's an outcome. Are we helping our employees navigate hybrid work successfully, balancing flexibility and in-person connections? Another outcome. Are we ensuring our culture is living its values and delivering on performance? And again, these are all outcomes. And I think focusing on outcomes is what really has the value, right, when it comes to the measurement. And while we don't own all these things from a functional perspective, we can ultimately, what people analytics needs to do is to know it's successful is if the outcomes improve, right? And so we should be measuring things like, adoption and usage of our products and whether or not people are consuming the content. But really, if we're measuring the outcomes and see them improve, we know we're providing value to the business.
Wow, I love that. Measure the outcome versus activities. So let's switch gear a little bit. Workday is known for its use of AI and ML technology. Could you discuss how Workday is expanding the use of AI and ML technologies to make this transformation initiative successful?
So I'm going to start by paraphrasing Cheyenne, our EVP of Products and Technology. I don't think I could say it better than he has done about our unique approach to ML and AI. Workday thinks about and implements AI and ML differently than any other enterprise software company. From a capabilities perspective, Workday takes a platform-first approach that embeds AI and ML into the very core of our technology platform. And why does this matter? It matters because it allows us to rapidly deliver and sustain new ML-infused capabilities into our application. ML gets used, by the way, when it gets used more, it provides better value. And since we have millions of customers or millions of users using it and thousands of customers implement it, we improve at a quick rate. And maybe I could share just 3 examples of things that I'm really excited in the Workday ecosystem that I use in people analytics around ML and AI. So the first one is around surfacing organizational hotspots or areas of concern. So we acquired a company not so long ago called Stories BI, which turned into People Analytics, the product. And they have a very great approach to ML where it takes all of your Workday data and your tenant and the history of the data, and it gives you the unique contributors or hotspots in your organization based on consuming all that data and using ML to prioritize and then telling simple stories to the HR business partner. Here's where you need to focus on hiring. Here's where you need to focus on top talent. Here's a concern around diversity. Here's the overall organizational health. And that's already powered by ML and AI. And I love the storytelling engine that we have from this product. The second one I love and I use all the time is actually natural language processing that's embedded into Peakon, our employee engagement platform. And what this does is it surfaces and explains the why behind a particular score a leader receives. So if you're a senior leader and you say, hey, I'm struggling on sense of accomplishment or health and well-being, the NLP will surface all of the comments that may speak to why and make them topical for you so you can easily digest what is going on in your organization and how exactly you got here. In the last one, I'm really excited about because I see this in play every day being at Workday is using skills to recommend things like learning, gigs, jobs. And I really, really love this because it's important to have clean data sets about automatically keeping a worker's profile up to date with the work you're doing. So we have some exciting applications here, and I'm excited for the new things that are coming out.
Well, that sounds like ChatGPT all over again from the people analytics perspective to me. So thank you for sharing those examples. As a leader in people analytics at a global company with over 17,000 people, what are some of the most pressing issues you see in the field today, particularly for large organizations like Workday? And how do you envision solving these issues in the future?
Not an easy question here, Helen. Thank you for going easy on me now. So we, I think, have had such a big swing in the people business over the last 3 years. The pandemic, the social justice movement, the great resignation, the great reconnection, now economic uncertainty, hybrid and return to the office. You know, it's just been a big swing. Believe it or not, I think to stay ahead, many organizations need to rethink going back to the basics. It may not be sexy, but I do think it has the biggest impact for your organizational health. So, for example, do we have a discipline in our workforce planning practice and rhythm? Are we getting the best hires and onboarding them effectively? Are we taking care of our managers and setting them up for success? Are we deeply listening to our employees and then letting them know they're heard in the actions we take for them? So keep in mind, there's still, I think, a bit of burnout from the swing we've had over the last 3 years. We continually need to focus on the employee experience and not make short-sighted decisions, because I think, you know, as we get past these difficult times, the companies who navigate this well are really going to be set up for success when we emerge. So that's generally how I'm thinking and kind of approaching the next few years.
Well, those are really great advice. Thank you, Phil. Not everybody can afford investing dollars into people analytics, right? So what advice would you offer to someone who's starting out to build their own people analytics function without that deep pocket? What
Yeah.
would be top of mind as they begin the journey?
Yeah, I don't think it has to be costly to invest in a people analytics function. I think I started at Workday. We had one person, me, and then one other person too. So we started with two people. Some key things when starting your function, I think the most important thing is to learn the business that you're in. So you can't provide value unless you really know how the business functions and how it works. I think for when you get started for a small team, I think it's important to have some quick wins. So become focused on just one or two things that you can make a splash at across your organization. I think teams that get bogged down in, we need to fix all the data governance and we need to have all the clean data and we need to have reporting for all, often get bogged down into kind of the continuous churn. And so really having a focused perspective can do it. And then I think supplementing some really good technology, having people analytics, the product as your analyst in the box and having rolled that technology out to a bunch of people. I mean, let me just give you an example. So for Peak on our employee listening platform, we have one person who spends about 25 to 30% of his time managing our entire employee listening platform. So that's what you have when you have good technologies. You can create scale. So you don't need a lot of money to get in there. I think you just have to be intentional about the maturity you do as you start to build and make impact in your organization.
That makes total sense to me, Phil. I can talk to you for another hour, but our time is up here. So thank you so much for sharing your insights and highlighting the significant changes and advancements with AI in workforce today. Here are my key takeaways, right? Number one, AI is referring to agility and insights are paramount for maintaining a productive workforce culture, one that where people see how they are contributing to growth through follow through on initiatives. I love what you said about value and unlocking the value. And number two, workforce planning technology can help enhance productivity by breaking down the silos, automating repetitive tasks, updating financial and operating reporting based on changing information. But I love what you said about it's not about tracking the activities, but it's about tracking the outcome. And then you also mentioned about Workday enables the ability for people to plan, execute, analyze securely by accelerating action with real-time data for multi-dimensional analysis and tailored insights. Information becomes unburied. This makes way for more strategic planning and decision making. And lastly, automation is no longer a nice to have, it's a must have competitive advantage that allows companies to gain insights in real time and make informative decisions. So I'm a firm believer that the intersection of technology and humanity is where our power lies. And right now, we're merging onto a most exciting path powered by the new AI, that's agility and insights. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Stay hungry, stay bold, and stay grateful.